Welcome to Two Gals and a Glass Half Full. We are Dr. Jess and Dr. Bobbie, two physical therapists just trying to live healthy most of the time and doing our best to see our personal glasses as half full. Some days that is much harder than others. On this podcast, sometimes we interview others more knowledgeable than us on different topics to teach us about things we may not know. And other times, like today, you're stuck with Dr. Jess and I sharing our knowledge and information. So make sure you hit subscribe button below to stay up to date on all of the Two Gals happenings. We are starting the month of March. We're looking at nutrition, and we're going to look at nutrition a little differently. Not going to tell you should eat this, you shouldn't eat that, things like that. Just a different perspective on it. And I'm really excited. So first, Dr. Jess, what do you have in your glass today?
So I'm working on my smoothie this morning. I've got a bunch of dark fruit in there. I've got a half a banana, some protein powder, microgreens, chia seed, ground flax seed, and some ground up peanuts, peanut butter, So lots of protein with some good balance of everything, and oat milk to mix it all together. So that's my essentially my breakfast every day. Same thing every day. So Dr. Bobbie, what's in your glass?
I'm still with my teal glass and water. So water.
I like it. Yeah. So as Dr. Bobbie said, the month of nutrition, the goal is not to say there's nutrition as a one size fits all approach. Nutrition can be used as medicine. It can be used as things that can be inflammatory. There's so much information about nutrition that can be overwhelming. So what we want to talk about today is like how to take some small steps into getting a little bit of a handle on how do I incorporate this? Like, what's like a realistic way for me to incorporate nutritional planning into my day-to-day and weekly life? So we did a lot of with goal setting in January and how to just get yourself a little bit organized for like a bigger, something that you're wanting to reach towards. So why not start the month of nutrition with like, how do I even just get myself organized? And that's where talking about how do you grocery shop and how do you meal plan is huge for making sure that you're not just relying on the cheapest, most convenient, fastest thing available right now, which oftentimes is something that is not that healthy for you. And so kind of pre-planning and getting your head in that like, okay, if I have all of this available to me because I went grocery shopping and had it easily accessible when I'm busy, then you're going to actually start to be able to implement some nutritional change. So, and that's like all sorts of other episodes that we'll be doing later this month. So this first episode is just getting organized. So Dr. Bobbie, when it comes to, like we've got to talk meal planning before we go to the grocery store, right? So what are strategies that you use to be able to plan your meals? So you just at least have like even if you don't write it down, like mentally, what are your strategies?
So for me, typically, what I do on Saturdays is I kind of go through a freezer and a refrigerator and kind of see what we already have. I started meal planning to honestly save money. That's why I started meal planning, was to save money. And also then I think so many times if I didn't know what I was going to have and it wasn't planned out, I would just eat whatever's quick, or we'd buy out a lot growing up. And so trying to eat at home and cook some like healthier food is the reason I started with it. So on Saturdays, I'll go through our freezer and our fridge, and I'll see what we have. And so that way I can kind of try to use up some of the stuff we've had a while in our freezer for that week. And then I'll just I have a meal planner. It's actually kind of like the one that we have in Two Gals. Jess has one. She can talk to you about it a little later, but it just has breakfast, lunch, dinner for every day of the week. And I start kind of filling out like what we have, and I don't make the full meal right away. My family eats meat. So first I'll start with like, what meat do we have, and kind of fill that in and trying to make it so we're not having chicken all week or, different types of meat, whatever you eat. And then I'll look at our vegetables and I'll fill those in, like what will go. So sometimes it's just kind of like piece by piece, seeing what we have. I also love cooking new recipes. So I may take out a recipe book and kind of see what if I have a specific meat or a specific vegetable that I want to cook, like find a good recipe for that. And what I'll do is I'll make a list of like what I have, and then I make a separate list of what I need. And at that point, I've also checked all of my cabinets to make sure that, we don't already have it. And that's kind of how I make my meal list. And then what I will either go Saturday night or Sunday morning to the grocery store. I prefer Saturday. So that way, Sunday when I wake up, I just cook. Sunday is always a big breakfast day at my house for everyone. So we make a nice big breakfast. And then after that, I'm just kind of cooking all day. Really trying to prepare as much as I can because my weeks are really busy. So that way, if I can cut up all the vegetables ahead of time, if there's any of the meat that I can like slow cook or pre-cook and then just heat up during the week, just to make the mealtime and the cooking much faster. So that's just like a general overview of like how I started, why I started. How about you, Dr. Jess? Like, what is because I know meal planning can look different for everyone. I know when my best friend lived in Japan, they have their bike and they just go to the store every day. It's just the local store down the street and you just get what you need for that day. So I know there's all sorts of different types of meal planning from daily to weekly. So Dr. Jess, how does your family meal plan?
So we do like similar. So that's kind of my Saturday morning thing is we get up, while the kids are playing, my husband and I will drink a cup of coffee and we'll usually go through like, hey, like, did you like the lunches this week? Or did you like the dinners this week? And we'll kind of talk about what we did like from the previous week versus what we didn't like. And so then we kind of will jot down just some ideas for like, yeah, those sandwiches were really good. I could do those again this week. I'm like, okay, cool. And then which meals went well versus the one that I didn't love that. That wasn't my favorite. Maybe let's not do that again, which is fine, right? You just experiment with stuff. So we'll kind of figure out more or less what we're thinking for the next week. Then I do the same exact thing. We check the freezer, we check the fridge, what needs to get used up because it's going to be going bad soon versus like what's already in there that will pair well with what we already have going on. And then that's when I get the kids, we go outside because we need outside playtime anyway. And then we go harvest in the garden. And so then I see what do we have ready in the garden and we get all that. And then that then kind of finalizes, okay, here's what we're going to be doing this week. And then we create the shopping list. I prefer grocery shopping on Saturday as well, because I really don't like leaving the house on Sunday. Like, I just like to be home all day Sunday. I like to, play in the garden, go for bike rides, whatever. But like, I really don't like leaving the house on Sunday. So that way it's organized. Again, I'm trying to create less waste. We incorporate like our older son. He's now old enough to tell us what is he interested in eating as well. So he's part of the meal plan. He's part of harvesting. Our younger son, he's with us, but not really like, he's not quite telling us like, I want to eat, this bok choy and, try and cook it a different way than we did the last time. So it's, he's not quite there yet, but he will be. And so that way we're incorporating them as well into the meal plan. So then when it comes time to dinner, there's not a fight. It's like, this is what you said you wanted. At the grocery store, you actually helped me pick this out. And then when it comes time for dinner, it's like, okay, that was your choice. So we balance it out between protein, dairy, fruits and vegetables. And so, we have a rule in the house, I hold up my fingers. And so if we've already had our, let's say like, yogurt's a big thing in our house. Like the kids love yogurt. So if we've already had yogurt, yogurt's done. Okay. So now what else do we need? Well, we still need a vegetable. We still need a fruit. Okay. So then we'll, the fingers come down. Then once we finish the hand, then, we've had all of what we need to eat for the day. And so that way we're not just eating the same thing for every meal. Okay. So it's like just lots of different strategies. So having it out on the refrigerator, it's laminated. So we just hang this up on the refrigerator. It makes it really easy to see like, oh, okay. So like smoothies, that's smoothies all week. And then what I do is like, as much as possible, we try and do things that are like relatively easy for dinners, like stir fries. So we clean all the vegetables that we get, pre-chop them, they're ready to go. Things like that, where we can just have an easier time cooking for dinner. And then smoothies, actually, I pre-make my smoothie, or my husband pre-makes the smoothies the night before, and we put them in the fridge because we're both in the kitchen, getting dinner, getting dinner ready, washing dishes, so while everything is out, then that way the morning smoothies grab and go. So super easy. Both kids like smoothies as well. So like anything to make it fast on a busy work day. That way you're still eating good food, and it doesn't have to be super expensive because you're not eating out. So yeah.
And I think sometimes, like when I started, it seemed like it took so much time to like meal plan, because I wasn't as proficient about it. I had to figure out my routine, which obviously every time when you figure out a routine that works for you, it will make it faster. But it does seem like it takes a little bit more time in the moment, but then during the week, everything's ready for you. So it's so much quicker. And a lot of us have a little bit more free time on the weekends if we're not working, than we do Monday through Friday, with your typical work day, and then kids activities and this and that and all those things that we're being pulled to. And I just found it was so much easier to stick to eating healthier, and eating more, not even healthier, but just more whole foods versus packaged foods. And don't get me wrong, my family, we still add packaged food in there. We can't avoid it completely, but it is nice to like be able to eat fresh, and like just you feel good then, or I feel good, I should say, when I have a meal. And I enjoy cooking. It's something that I like to do, relaxing at the end of the night, but sometimes I don't have an hour or two to cook. So if I can have something ready and prepared, you said like a stir fry or something that is ready that I just have to put in the oven, it just makes the week so much easier.
Yeah, and the other thing we do is like we do that same meal more than once. So if I'm going to spend the time to actually put together, like something that we bake, I'm going to make it big enough so there's going to be multiple servings. So now all you have to do is reheat the leftover, and it makes life a little bit easier. I know some people are like, I don't like leftovers, and that's okay. Like I'll eat leftovers all week just to avoid having to cook. So like, I'm like, I would rather eat the leftover than have to get everything out, cook it, clean it up. I would rather have the leftover. And so kind of the portions that you cook, you can really invest in putting some time into a dish that's going to give you multiple meals, especially if it's a dish that has a ton of balance to it, meaning you've got a bunch of veggies in there, you've got some protein in there, you've got, other sorts of, maybe you've got some sort of carb, maybe you have no carb, either is fine. But like however you put it all together, if it's like a one-stop shop and you can just reheat that and you're solid, that's my kind of meal.
We use a lot of leftovers. So we typically unless like leftovers have really backed up, we typically have a new dinner every night. But then what we do is the leftovers are everyone's lunches. So typically there's enough. So like we'll make a salad. So I have a salad almost every day for lunch. But then not everyone in my family likes salad, to be honest. But then like, we will take the leftovers, put them in small containers. So I have a salad, and then I have like a really small container of whatever, a little bit of what dinner was. Whereas others in my family may have like a little bit larger portion of what they had for dinner. But that's how we kind of use our leftovers, is they're typically our lunches for the next day or two.
Yeah, which is totally fine. Then it's making your life easier, which then makes it much easier to be able to actually stick to eating that more balanced whole food diet, and not having to rely on the expense of eating out, and then not quite really knowing what you're getting out of that. Like sometimes when it tastes really good, there's a lot of stuff in there that's maybe not the best for you on a regular basis. So it's like trying to get that balance can be tough. So there is some time commitment, trying to do stuff that's like easier. Like I don't make the most complex meals that I used to. I just don't have time on the weekends to do that like I used to. And so we do a lot more stir fries, soups, like assemble at lunchtime sandwich, on my gluten-free
Mhm.
bread, things like that, where I've got my carrots already shredded, I've got my sprouts, I've got my greens, I've got everything I need. So I just do a quick, a lettuce wrap or some sort of sandwich that I make at lunchtime. So it's a lot easier to get all those into containers and just keep that in the fridge at work. And then I can assemble as I go. So I'm not having to pre-assemble.
And then, yeah. And one thing I think meal planning has helped with my family is when I do go to the grocery store, um, typically our freezer or fridge has enough like meat, for the most part, meat for the week. Because when I go to the store, I then look to see what's on sale. I also look a lot of times if something's going to expire in the next day or two, they'll put it like 50% off or, crazy percent off. So I'm never buying it at full price because there's nothing wrong with in my eyes, taking that meat that's going to expire. It's still good. Just put it right in the freezer. So when I come home from that day, it gets wrapped up and it gets put in the freezer. So that way, we're never buying. It's a little harder with fruits and vegetables. It's kind of meat is one of the only things you could probably do that with. But it helps keep the cost down as well. And then that's where the next week I'll go in and I'll kind of see what we have. So then I'm trying to not buy things at full price.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. And I think that kind of gets into, as you're putting together your shopping list, how to be strategic with your shopping list. So normally what I do is I'll kind of jot this down with all of my ideas. And then that way I keep it on the fridge. It reminds us, oh yeah, we planned on doing this. We should go look for that we bought. Because, I mean, I'm as guilty as anybody else, where I planned these meals and we bought the stuff and then we ended up not using the stuff in the refrigerator because we forgot that we were going to use it for that meal. So keeping this right on the refrigerator is super helpful. Everybody remembers. So once that's there, I handwrite my list. I know it's not on an app on my phone or anything like that. I actually am kind of weird about it, but I write it based on the area of the store that it's in. And so it's easy for me to kind of fill in. Because that way, when I go to the store, I'm not doing the back and forth, oh, produce is over here, but then the freezer section is over here. And, it's like when you're done grocery shopping, you just want to go. I don't want to have to walk all the way back to produce for the one thing I forgot.
Right.
So
I do the same. I put them in categories. I have a blank piece of paper and it's like D, and I just start writing it out.
Yep. Yeah. So so you kind of have whatever your meals are going to be, kind of what you need for those meals. And then, as you go, you kind of write that down. And as you look and see what you already have, you just cross that off. And then that way, you don't need that. You already have it. Or maybe you have enough, but only need half of what you thought you would need. And then that creates overall the shopping list. And one of the easiest things you can do to keep your cost down, which is looking for ahead of time, looking for sales and what's going on, choosing which store you're going to is something else. And the other thing is sometimes we go to more than one store because we know that we can get our produce or a farmer's market or something and a store. We can go here to get more produce, milk, that kind of stuff. And over here, we'll get just some of the specialty items that we can't get over here. And so that way there's some time to that, it's not just a one-stop shop, but if you want to save some money, that's how you do it. If not, you just get everything at the expensive grocery store that has the specialty items that you want. And it just kind of depends on where you are with your budget. I'm still I just never like to spend 5 cents more than I have to. So
yes, I personally, when I'm shopping and cooking, I go to Aldi first. And then I don't go there as much as I really enjoy Trader Joe's. I should, and I luckily have literally all these stores within a 5-minute radius for me.
Yeah.
But then I will do Jewel, which is our kind of name brand store around here. That's a little bit more expensive.
Yep.
And then I also have Costco. So if there's anything in bulk that I want, I can go to Costco for that. And then the last resort is Whole Foods. Right. That's my last resort. So I kind of do it in that order. And I'm not going to all those stores every week.
No.
But Aldi is definitely where I start. And then kind of branch from there to see depending on what I need.
Yeah, we start with Trader Joe's, and then Target is probably our second, just because there's other stuff that we get there as well.
Mhm.
Just with like, if we are running out of wipes and it's not going to be delivered on Amazon on time, or like all those
Yeah.
little things, diaper cream or whatever. So if I'm already having to go into Target, there's a couple of things there that are a little bit different than Trader Joe's in their grocery section.
Mhm.
And then and then same thing, Costco. I'd say we go to Costco maybe once a quarter to like get stocked up on some of the big, like the bulky items. And then last resort is we've got Whole Foods and Sprouts, and there's another specialty grocery store here in Jacksonville that I'll check out. And that's mostly for like I really wanted Sprouts on my sandwich, and like broccoli sprouts, and we couldn't find them anywhere. So like we got those at the specialty store. But then when I was there, I found kombucha on sale. And so I was like, oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on where you live, what you have available to you. But like checking out the prices can make a huge difference on your grocery bill. The cost of groceries is just going up, and buying in bulk, gardening, doing as much as you can to like cook in a bigger bulk amount. Like I make a lot of soups, and that'll feed us for 3-4 nights, and I can put really quality organic produce in there and make a nice big amount, and it doesn't cost nearly as much as if I was like trying to do something else.
That's one thing I do when I do gardening. I didn't garden this past year, but I will this year, and I'm excited about it. But 2 years ago, we like would garden, but we gardened like peppers, and there was so much that it was more than we could eat.
Mhm.
And so I did give a little bit away to others, but for the most part, what I did is I did like the stuff I could. So, for example, jalapeno peppers. We love jalapeno peppers. So we put them in vacuum bags and froze them. And so then, we were able to eat them throughout the year. Same with like spaghetti squash and butternut squash. We actually got a good amount of butternut squash. There are certain vegetables and stuff that you can't freeze, or I should say you can, but they don't freeze well. Like your jalapenos will be not like so they'll be soft when they come out. But if I'm just putting them in a casserole or if I'm putting them in a stir fry, it doesn't matter. They're going to be that way anyway. So that's another way to kind of, if you're growing your own food, you can grow a little extra. That way you can just freeze it. So that way you have it throughout the year, especially up north here. In the winter, you can't really grow anything. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a good way to like keep yourself balanced and thinking about what do I want for me. And so we organize our almost every single weekend, unless we're like out of town or something like that, in which case I'm usually planning for 2 weeks before we go. That way, when we're out of town, it's already have the plans set. So it's kind of easy when we get back in town. But it's like, what do we want? Like, what do we want for us, for our family? And food and what we're putting into our bodies is really important. And so that's a value. And so as far as like a mindfulness for how we like run our weekend and how we run the rest of the week, nutrition is a huge part of that. But the other value is a budget and living within our means. And, like another value is having fun. So another value is being able to like have teachable moments for the kids. And so incorporating all of this in and incorporating the kids with what we're doing. So nothing feels like it's happening to them, but they are part of what's going on. Then now they're starting to understand like, oh, it is important to have a budget. It is important to think about what we're putting in our bodies. We can't just go out to restaurants all the time. And I'm like, why? Why would we do that? Put that back on them. Like, oh, well, I'm like, well, that costs money, right? So
yeah.
like if you work for an hour, you can make this much money, but then if you spend it over here where you could have a quarter of that, to feed, then you're going to have the money is going to be available for other things. So it's like you can really kind of incorporate nutrition in multiple ways to make sure that you're really balancing out how you're structuring what do you want for you. And so that's kind of the point of 2023, and the point of the podcast for Two Gals is putting you first. And so making sure that you're really thinking about that. You're the only person that's going to do that for you. Like, nobody's going to knock on your door and say, here's your meal plan. It's, like, that's it. Like, we can help and say, here's strategies we use for ourselves. But like, how do you put you first? And what does that look like for you? Our way of grocery shopping might not work for you. Like, this meal planner might not work for you, or it might. So all we can do is just kind of share ideas, and hopefully you do find it to be helpful or something resonates. And if it does resonate, share this information. So share it with other people. Share this episode, share any of the posts that we do, and like, get other people supporting you in your decisions. And then all of a sudden now you've got a little bit of a community, and you're like, hey, like, I just created this recipe and I really love it. Share that with somebody, and then you're going to pay it forward to somebody else. And so the more you pay it forward, the more that you'll start realizing, like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, this way of living mindfully can be really beneficial for me and others.
And I think one of, like, when we're looking at budgets, so I know we talked about in January, we looked at like goal setting and budgeting and things like that. And whether you make 40,000, 100,000, half a million a year, it doesn't matter. I think food is one category, whether it's eating out or grocery, that like you should be aware of what you're spending. Because I think it's a category that can very, very easily get out of control. So it doesn't matter your income. It just, you need to know what you're spending. And if you want to shop at, if you can afford it and you want to shop at like one grocery store, by all means, go for it. If you have other goals you want to set up, and you find ways, this is a great way to kind of then cut back and let some of that money go towards, other goals you may have, vacations or starting a business or anything along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. It all can blend together. That's the important thing. You can really keep all of these little baskets in life going. So exercise, nutrition, being able to have spiritual health, recreational goals, all the health stuff. It really does all interrelate. You don't just have to throw money at something for it to work. You can balance budget with other goals, which is also, I think, important and sometimes can feel daunting. Yeah. So if you like what you hear and you want to learn more and have more strategies to be able to implement, join our Two Gals Insiders group. We go live once a month. We have more content that we release to have more specific small change, and just a community to be supportive of each other. So all the links will be in the episode description below. We are on social media. So we are on Facebook and we are on Instagram. So if you want to hear more, just like more tips and bits throughout the week, and just keep yourself encouraged, we're constantly posting in there. So again, like, follow us, like it, share it with others, pay it forward a little bit when you're starting to lead this mindful lifestyle and it's like resonating with you. Like, I guarantee you, like, somebody else is going to then be more supportive to you because they're going to start being more like-minded. And that's how you start growing this network of people to be supportive, and putting you first becomes a little easier with support. So I know I need support. So yeah.
And hey, Dr. Jess, what do you think about, we challenge everyone this week. So today's Sunday, you're listening to maybe you're listening to this on Sunday, maybe it's later. So if you're listening to it later, next weekend, try budgeting, try meal planning, try to look in your freezer. What have you had that's been there forever that you need to use? How much of the food in your house or in your garden, depending on where you live, how much can you use before you go to the store? And then plan out your week.
And it doesn't have to be what we've created, right? But something like this is super easy every day of the week. And then each meal, like you can see, like, I do smoothies across the board. And for this week, we have sandwiches across the board for lunches. What's in the sandwiches, obviously, is like a bunch of veggies and whatnot. And then I've got my different meals, 2 meals of stir fry, fish and veggies. I've got a warm green salad. We're going to do a cookout on the grill. And then Sunday right now is a free day, mainly because we're going to eat whatever is left over. I do eggs. I just make up a big scrambled egg and then I throw all the leftover veggies in it. It's some protein, and then we make it like a maybe, usually that kind of covers it. Yeah.
We always in my family, I think, not me personally, but some of my family members, they enjoy eating out. It is one thing that they really enjoy. So we always have one night a week, whether it's we're bringing Carrie in or going out somewhere. We
Mhm.
always leave one night a week as like eating out, typically Friday or Saturday.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll
so
often order in once during the weekend. So like I love dim sum or sushi, stuff that I wouldn't normally cook. I just don't have time for that at this point. That's usually we'll order in once. Yeah. So yeah. All right, everybody. Well, we look forward to hearing more in the month of nutrition. We've got an episode coming up next that's going to be all about how to incorporate gardening and nutrition. It's like I'm super excited about all the episodes that are going to be coming out this month. So stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe. That way you don't miss a beat. All right, everybody.
bye.